Check, check, 1, 2. Check, check, 1, 2. Okay, we do have audio. I believe we are streaming. So I'm going to hit play here soon. And yeah, welcome to the show, everybody. Here I am, coming at you like a hurricane. Yeah, I'm just hitting play here. Thanks for joining us. We got some stuff going. We're recording. We are streaming. So, yeah, things are looking good. Okay, great. Let's get on to the show. Yeah.
Just won't believe what you see, but in your world you'll be free to dream the dreams you want to.
Sex. It's a hot topic in the 90s. Even with the increase of incurable sexually transmitted diseases, statistics tell us that 2/3 of the American teenagers have sex before they reach the age of 20. We're going to be seeing how we can get out and how we can stay out of the sexual trap which so many people have fallen into. And what about safe sex? What is it? And how does God feel about it? We have evangelist John George with us, and not only that, we're going to be interviewing White Cross. It's going to be a powerful show. You won't want to miss it. Get ready, because here we go.
Coming this summer from Warning Brothers.
People expect.
Quebec City became the gateway. No ship could enter without passing under French cannons. The British also looked at the map and realized that Quebec City was the key to controlling the
Can't thumb
continent.
bust.
This is
Then it's a fan.
What a big...
And it's a great way to tell the kids about, you know what?
Animal instinct. It will change your life for good.
French responded by building the first defensive wall in just 6 weeks. It was a large log fence called a palisade. The British arrived in 1690 to attack what they called the Gibraltar of
He had stumbled upon. There were towers,
I don't think anyone's getting the drift, Bob. Maybe if we showed them what the world might have looked like millions of years ago, the students would have a better understanding of natural life.
The construction of the Great Walls took several decades. Workers were drafted from the surrounding countryside during what were known as corvées. Every able-bodied man from the age of 16 to 60 was ordered to pick up a shovel.
A real fortification wall is mainly...
Most of these organisms sunk to the bottom, where, over time, they became layers of sediment buried in the seabeds. I believe I mentioned they were tiny plants and animals? Thank you.
Did the plant and animal turn into natural gas?
fast.
Well, actually,
So you don't have to go
as
too
the layers
fast.
became buried deeper and deeper, plants and animals were pressed together by the weight of the layers above. And a combination
Meters wide. The ornate buildings were made from sandstone, quarried from the nearby Kulan Mountains. The complex probably took more than 40 years to build and contains a staggering 5 million tons of stone.
It's easier when we can see it.
That's true. And as we can see here, Saskatchewan's largest natural gas fields are found near Beacon Hill, Colville, and Hatton. You'll have to excuse me. It looks like we're going on location.
Where?
American attack during the Revolutionary War. The British finally left, peacefully, in 1871, a few years after Canada's Confederation. Almost as soon as they were gone, the public began demanding the fortifications be removed to give the city room to grow. The great gates were destroyed. Vandals and neglect began taking their toll. The walls started to crumble, and their stones were looted.
And when they reigned and what their achievements were. And so bit by bit, through the inscriptions, it was possible to build up an idea of the dynastic sequence of the kings of Angkor.
Test on antibodies within the body against, it's a test for antibodies for fighting the AIDS.
If only I could.
All sincerity, John, I had an AIDS test a month ago. It came up negative. It may indeed have come up negative. The young person is indeed trying to be honest. Still mean that young person.
No, although you'd probably know if they.
Teenage mentality. This seems all right. Delicious.
But the central question remained. Why had Suryavarman II built Angkor Wat? The walls and walkways of the building itself suggest the answer. The images embedded here are religious. And the surprise for the historians is that although Angkor is very far from India, they are very definitely Hindu. There is something else that confirms the Hindu influence, something more subtle. An aerial view shows that the buildings are arranged to open out to the west, a direction uniquely associated with Vishnu, a Hindu god. Seen from above, it becomes clear.
It is a Christmas tree, but there are no presents underneath. Well, except for the natural gas.
Places, everyone. Whenever you're ready, Bill.
Once the gas comes up the well and goes through the Christmas tree, it ends up here in the middle of the gas field to be processed and refined. Now, if the gas found is sweet gas, the processing and refining is relatively easy. Sweet gas means that the gas is almost 100% pure methane.
No, I don't think so, Joey. Thanks anyways.
Oh, the Duchess, the Duchess.
White Cross got their name when we were reading in Isaiah 1:18. It says, "Come, let us reason together, says the Lord. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be made as white as snow."
Gas, the refining process is more complicated because each of these components must be separated before the methane, the natural gas, is ready to be used.
Excuse me, Bill? What happens to those other components?
That's a very good question. Okay, ethane is used to make
Interpretation of
ethylene,
Hinduism,
and that's common
devout
to
as it
most plastics.
appears, had elements that were uniquely Khmer. For Angkor Wat was more than a temple.
Round, round, past your holster, and come up and in the back door like so. So we'll try that. This position, after you've shot, roll.
He was the
roll,
Khmer's sole conduit to
and
the
there.
gods, the sacred vessel
And
through
around
which
and in.
communication could alone take place. Inscriptions underline the king's crucial role as go-between. The contact was perceived as real and physical. A legend describes how one such encounter was believed to take place. Every night, the king was obliged to attend the most sacred inner room of the royal chapel.
Jessica probably knows what to say.
Here he would be visited by a heavenly spirit in human form, who would dance for him,
prayer groups, and we considered ourselves to be
seduce him.
share our faith with as many people in school that we could. You know, whether
Was certainly an
up on Bibles or just individuals in the band.
I wonder who is responsible for letting the sea in here.
Actually, I don't think it's the sea at all. You see,
If I get my paws on one of them, I'll nibble their nose off.
So, we drop it forward, put a little bit of a swing. So, in your front. Makes it fancy. Just, and then away. Now, that's dropping the gun and in. You can bring the gun back.
Bill the lizard. Was swimming in the
nothing.
Oh, me. How will I ever dry myself?
I don't have to worry about that, as the proper duck's back. Lizard should.
It's not the... Oh, never mind.
Oh, I'm so wet. How will I ever get dry?
We'll all dry up by having a rain.
Who are you?
A dodo.
Any surplus the peasants produced was
provinces in
converted.
Canada, which supplies natural gas.
Just merit for the afterlife.
Dawson had all the conveniences, running water,
On behalf of the gods by the priests, who
even a telephone system. It was an island of civilization that was deadly difficult to reach. One of the most direct routes to Dawson was by way of a grueling trail over the mountains through the infamous Chilkoot Pass. On the other side was Bennett Lake. From here, it was 900 kilometers downriver by boat to Dawson City. So many inexperienced adventurers were making the trek that the government of Canada was forced to impose rules. Every stampeder was required to have 2,000 pounds of supplies before they were allowed to continue. The trail was too steep for horses, so if you couldn't afford to hire Aboriginal packers, you carried the load yourself, 50 pounds at a time. That meant as many as 40 trips uphill. On your own, that could take 3 months. The Chilkoot Trail became known as the meanest and cruelest 32 miles in the world. But they still came. Between the summer of 1897 and the spring of 1899, 30,000 people launched an assault on the Chilkoot Trail. By 1900, the Klondike gold rush was all but over. The gold that could be taken out easily by hand was virtually gone. The Chilkoot was a wasteland of abandoned equipment. The rock and soil still held treasure, but getting at it required heavy machinery. Giant dredging machines began appearing on the landscape.
Question that furthers the benefits of research will show that. There's research to show that persons who have engaged in premarital sex are more likely to get divorced. If they've lived together in the hope of getting married, they're less likely to be married if they've engaged in premarital sex. If they've engaged in premarital sex, all other things being equal, once they are married, they're more likely to engage in
Klondike gold helped enrich this country as it struggled to find its feet. Some of it undoubtedly found its way into the treasury of the fledgling federal government. Ottawa became the site of a great institution that would turn treasure into an economic engine. The Royal Canadian Mint rose in the heart of the capital in 1905. Its size and scale reflected the building's purpose. It was built like a fortress, to be secure and inspire confidence.
But it too is produced in smaller quantities when compared to other fossil fuels.
The mint contains one of the
There is also a small amount of soil degradation associated.
Hemisphere. Here, gold is
the soil
refined to 4 nines, which means it's 99.99% pure. The result is the finest gold produced anywhere in the world. Today,
years. Least expensive forms of energy and one of the safest. Let me show you something.
Yuck, this stuff stinks.
Right. Actually, natural gas does not stink.
Egyptians believed that the body would be needed again, so it was important to preserve it. Their embalming techniques became so sophisticated that Egyptian mummies are still recognizable after 4,000 years. The process was lengthy and expensive, but it was deemed worthwhile for anyone who could afford it. For those who were properly prepared, the tomb, it was believed, was not the final resting place.
First trade bill, you've got the letters HB, Hudson's Bay Company. So that dollar is the only Canadian coin that carries advertising.
The design is then carved and etched into a plaster model. The next step is to use the
thin face and big black eyes.
I've got to know my father, who is a Palladian from a planet in the star system called Treasuous.
There are millions of wanderers or extraterrestrial souls living on Earth who don't know that they are extraterrestrial souls.
Then I saw a fourth one, and it started to land.
Canada's coins, about 3 billion of them per year, are produced at the Mint's high production facility in Winnipeg. The old building in Ottawa is now used exclusively to produce precious metal commemorative coins and special sets for collectors. The Mint has given Canada some of its most practical and beautiful symbols. Another building on a faraway island was destined to produce the country itself.
$40,000 and $50,000 a year. Plus, we'll see that natural gas buses are also much better for the environment than conventional buses.
Gentlemen, welcome to our provincial legislature.
When a group of colonial politicians entered this building in Charlottetown, they were British. When they emerged, they were on the road to becoming Canadians. It was September 1864. Province House is where Canada was born. It was originally built as the home of
technologies, and new concepts for production are quickly propelling the natural gas industry into a future filled with discovery and innovation.
By them for some time to come. This was a pharaoh's burial, but only just. It looked as if Tutankhamun had been dispatched with unusual haste.
Coming soon.
The leaders of the province of Canada, which had earlier brought Ontario and Quebec.
So is everyone crisp, wide awake?
According to them, his father was a man named Akhenaten. To the historians, this was extraordinary news. Akhenaten had clearly been a pharaoh, but there was no mention of him in Egypt's records. Who was Akhenaten? How and why had he been ignored? And could the answer be linked to the perfunctory burial of his son? Egyptologists set out to solve the mystery, but all they found were blanks. Whole sections of texts were missing, images and inscriptions erased. Filling in the gaps proved to be a long process.
It wasn't until probably about 30 or 40 years after hieroglyphs had been deciphered that they started twigging that actually these fills, this
I'd sat Reform leader George Brown, the publisher of the Toronto Globe newspaper. On the other
fellows actually fitted chronologically, it was then possible to start piecing things together. But the erasure of him from the records was pretty efficient, and it was quite some time before the picture started to emerge.
And when the two of them began to say, this confederation is a good idea, we'll sink our personal differences and we'll get along, it really began to roll.
The debate continued in every colony for another 3 years. Then, on July 1st, 1867, George Brown wrote the Globe's historic front-page story. The opening line said, "We hail the birthday of a new nationality." Today, Province House is unique among Canadian provincial legislatures. It is the only one to have been designated a National Historic Site. For Canadians, it offers a unique opportunity, a chance to see the very room where their country was born, and a quiet place to honor the wisdom of the men who brought it to life. Canada would eventually span the continent, and with the push to the west came concern. The new government was worried that neighbor to the south,
Aten, god of the sun.
with generous incentives,
The system of ancient Egypt was being turned upside down. Inscriptions in the temple at Karnak illustrate how Egyptians had, for thousands of years, been free to worship
giveaways of all time. For a mere $10, Canada would hand over 160 acres to any young man who pledged to farm it and build a house. One man set his sights and dreams on a piece of land just west of Regina. His name was W.R. Motherwell. He came from Perth, Ontario, and was destined to become a prairie legend. Motherwell headed west and arrived in Saskatchewan to claim his land. Early settlers like Motherwell would endure years of back-breaking work. At first, he lived in a tent and worked the land with oxen. The gamble and the hard work paid off. The land proved to be bountiful. The Motherwell homestead prospered. The family grew, and so did W.R.'s land holdings. It was a story repeated right across the prairies. Homesteader farms were becoming firmly established, and their communities were growing fast.
Killed the cat.
Curiouser and curiouser.
So, Ange, you coming over to the house tonight?
Yeah, what time are you gonna pick me up?
7 o'clock?
Your parents will be there, won't they?
Yes, Angie.
Cindy, you don't look so hot.
I don't feel so hot either.
Had ever seen. Motherwell realized that leaving a field unseeded for a season gave the soil a chance to revitalize itself. W.R. Motherwell has since been credited with popularizing summer fallowing,
Worship
a
of the sun
technique
god
still
dominated
used by farmers
Akhenaten's life.
across the West.
He wrote what is accepted as one of the great works of antiquity, the beautiful hymn.
The time as well as I do. You'd know how to treat him.
Him?
Oh, yes. Time is a him. I dare say you've never even spoken to time.
No, but I know how to beat time when I learn music.
Time just hates
so I was headed home to see my folks. The sun was going down when I hit the cutoff to 191. You know, it gets pretty windy and slow in that area. It's very desolate. After a while, I came around this one curve, and I saw this really bright light. It was in the middle of the road. It was so blinding. At first, I thought it was the spotlight from like a police car. But then I realized that it was too high off the ground to be coming from a car. So I put my foot on the brake, but it didn't do anything. I just kept going. The motor ran like my foot was still on the gas. Then the truck slowed down and stopped. Right in front of that light. I was so scared. I had absolutely no control over my body. As much as I didn't want to go, I opened the car door and I started walking towards the light. All of a sudden I went out and everything was dark all around me. But it was like I could make out this ramp. And then all of a sudden this door went up. I couldn't see what the door was in. My eyes were fixed on the opening. I started walking in. It was like my body just took me in. And I don't know what happened. I guess I must have blacked out because one minute I'm walking and the next minute I woke up on this table. Like a medical table.
I really don't think.
Then you shouldn't talk.
Really? Good day.
More tea? Don't mind if I do.
Touch me. I just felt like my body was made of clay.
No, see, like this.
That's doing this to me.
How'd you get so smart?
How'd you get so pretty?
And then
I know
you're gonna dig this. Out again.
The Fire by Night week. 2 days of training for youth and youth leaders who want to be armed and dangerous in reaching this generation. Load up your youth group and leaders for a Holy Ghost flame-throwing radical weekend with Fire by Night host Eastman Curtis, special guest Eric Lawson, the message and music of James Farmer, and the rapping comedian Lee Wilson. Make your plans now to attend this youth ministry crusade event of the decade. To register for the entire weekend, call 918-234-8122 today.
Keith, we can't. I need to go.
Angie, I love you.
I know, but I need to go.
But why?
I don't know. I need to go.
Hey, you guys be sure to clean up every bit of that mess when you're through. Good night.
Good night.
Hello, Thomas's. Hey, Ange. Are you all right? I'll be over in a minute. You did the right thing.
It wasn't easy. You gonna tell Mom and Dad?
You want me to?
I'll tell them.
I'm glad you called me.
I've never been so scared of myself. It would have been so easy if I'd stayed, but I couldn't.
That was God's Spirit taking care of you.
I'm still confused.
Well, the Bible says to run from evil. You may not feel like it, but you just honored God by obeying His word.
Charlie,
Today, this is going to be a great day, buddy.
Why is that, Dad?
Well, because today is the day that I snuff out pornography here at Highlands.
Point it to the ground. Safety. Open the loading gate on the half cock. Revolve the cylinder. Make sure that the 6 empty chambers. Before you start
Get to your croquet, please.
when you do load it, only put 5 in there and have empty cylinder right above that hammer there. The cylinder should be empty.
Excuse me, Your Majesty, but I only seem to have a hedgehog and a flamingo.
We all use hedgehogs and flamingos. It makes for a more interesting game.
Told your parents. What'd you do that for?
I've got to know my father, who is a Palladian from a planet in the star system called Treasuous.
I have been a healer all my life, and I've had a light that pulsates through my body.
Okay, sure you did. Well, I guess we're way past the halfway point, but we're still going. I had one tape that would not play. I tried many different VCRs, and it will not play. I don't get it. It's too bad, because it was more Christian content, talking about love and sex. Yeah, the truth about life, love, and sex. No apologies. It's actually on YouTube if you want to check it out. Anyways, we got some waterbed content here. Check it out. There you go. How to build a waterbed if you want to build a waterbed. So, yeah, you might have recognized some of these tapes before. I think we played the Fire by Night one already. It had White Cross, remember? Remember that video jam, White Cross? Yeah, it was fun. Anyways, yeah, sorry about that. I didn't realize, but that's okay. We can use different tapes, you know. There's no reason why we can't. So, yeah, look at that one. We got a feedback loop going. So, yeah, anyways, welcome.
Sometimes they'll
Thanks for watching. We got a little bit of UFO.
a location, kind of a little celebration.
This is that UFO documentary. I think it's playing off the Roku. So, yeah, UFO Chronicles, very, very good one. Check it out.
Charge the atmosphere.
Anyways, I'm going to stop yapping, because I know you didn't come here to listen to me yap. You came here to watch the jam, so here we go.
And he says, the best is yet to come.
I will tell you, probably in the year 1997, there's going to be one of the most beautiful announcements in the world has ever known. It's going to be the greatest event that mankind has ever known.
And expanded. They were watched by hundreds of spectators.
New York.
And all the competitors were men. This was the beginning of the world's first and most long-lasting major organized sporting event, the Olympic Games. For more than 1,000 years, the Games would be celebrated once every 4 years here at Olympia. Already by 776 BC, the
In spite
Games
of the
were a
difficulties with
prestigious
building
event,
pipelines across
and
some
Olympic
terrain,
athletes were
pipelines are
celebrated
still the
throughout the Greek-speaking world.
If you won at Olympia, you boasted about
The Winter Garden was something rare and wonderful. The audience felt as if it was in a magic garden on a summer's night, but it was destined to be left dark and empty for decades.
The Games were of such importance that meticulous records were kept of every single winner. It's the oldest chronological list in the Greek and Roman world, for the Olympics were more than a sporting entertainment.
The thing that distances us completely from our practice of Olympic sports and theirs is this aspect of
which includes natural gas delivery to over 90% of all Saskatchewan homes.
Property taxes low.
Who, for them,
heydays, vaudeville.
Right here in Saskatchewan.
2 theaters attracted some of the famous and not so famous stars to its stages.
It's just another one position. Okay, same thing. Take the gun, reach over, and you must cock. If you want to do it fast, you take the gun, squeeze the trigger, draw, and fan. That's just another position. So it's or fast, whatever is required. 80 hundredths of a second.
Chandeliers were rebuilt, and all the original.
Still going now.
Winter Garden Theater is the only.
I'm sorry, Keith, but I've just been so confused. I had to know how I felt before I could talk about it.
So how do you feel?
I'm just glad that we stopped when we did. And I'm glad that I'm not pregnant or hurt or ashamed.
We're doing to hurt you.
I know.
I'm sorry I put you in that position. I really respect you more than that.
We put ourselves in that position. Why Mom and Dad didn't want us spending so much time alone. It's too easy to do something you'd regret.
It's an engineering feat that was built to meet the demands of a booming lumber industry that needed a great inland waterway to move the timber down to market.
I guess this means no more studying alone.
The rivers and lakes.
So smart.
Verdict.
Guilty!
Guilty! Off with his head!
It was a simple lock that used gravity to fill or empty giant chambers to raise and lower boats. By the 1880s, the only remaining obstacle was at Peterborough. The difference in height between the Otonabee River above and Rice Lake below was a challenging 8-story.
Excuse me?
But not me.
I ate the tot.
Takes on the inside. Christ.
I ate the tot.
My turn! And my cake.
I did not.
She nearly drowned me.
And me. Willie with my chimney.
And she kidnapped my pet.
Right. Actually, natural gas does
The
not
design
stink.
theory of a
It's completely odorless, but the natural gas that we use has this distinctive fragrance added to it.
Ooh.
What you are smelling is mercaptan.
A crossover valve connects. The top chamber is filled, and its weight raises the lower one.
If you do smell that smell, it could mean there's a gas leak. So you should call Sask Energy and have the area checked and the leak repaired if necessary. Now, gas inspectors use these battery-powered sniffers to check for leaks.
Paul the Apostle tells us in 1 Corinthians chapter 6.
No leaks around this gas meter, but these are so sensitive, they can even sniff out the gas released from a small lighter.
Being a gas inspector would be neat.
What other kinds of jobs are there in the natural gas industry?
I'm glad you asked that. All day, I get
Premarital sex will... God just doesn't give us a bunch of rules and regulations to keep us from having fun.
Sublimated.
Every citizen was expected to play a part in the hostilities. It was a civic duty to...
In the name of the Lord Jesus, and by...
Fitness, it followed. Was a supreme athlete with a muscular, toned body. It's hardly surprising then that it was the Greeks who invented the gymnasium. Going to the gymnasium was an accepted part of Greek life. Every city had a municipal gymnasium at its heart, a large, well-appointed complex. It was a social place. Most able-bodied men went every day for exercise.
that make
The gymnasium's focus was simple: the development and care of the male body. There were baths, changing rooms, and even areas where athletes could douse themselves in olive oil. Outside in the courtyard, areas were marked out for wrestling, strength training, and javelin and discus throwing. The activities at the gymnasium were based on the demands of the battlefield. Discus throwing strengthened the shield arm. The javelin was simply a variant of spear throwing.
Overseeing the work were the white Europeans. They tended to be foremen, accountants, and engineers.
Natural gas reserves to last well into the next century. All this plus much more in Natural Gas 2, The Future. Coming soon.
Sounds like a great future.
Sure does. So is everyone crisp, wide awake, and scholarly?
Sure, Bill. Even I am. I think we all learned something about natural gas.
Well, that's...
An Olympic victory could be regarded as a prediction of what would happen in the event of a battle.
They took their little commission off everything.
That also included docking workers' paychecks for meals, and even for the firewood that heated their homes. At the dawn of the 20th century, The population of Steveston was about 400 people, but that number soared to over 10,000 during the canning season.
Girlfriend's house, it's only found in Jesus Christ. Now, you may be watching this and you may have found yourself bound up in immorality. I want you to know Jesus will set you free.
Open only to hikers, it's a place that has very little human disturbance. Most commonly, UFO reports involve a single pattern.
Efficient operation. At the dock, the fish were sorted and loaded onto conveyor belts. The cleaning and cutting was done.
And I think there's a lot to be said for that justification of the games. You know, there's this phrase that George Orwell coined about war minus the shooting.
The games have come a long way since those first races on this Greek hillside.
Go calculus. I cannot read another word. I'm so bored. Nothing ever happens to poor Alice, stuck out here in this horrible place. With that,
I woke up. Bright light shining in through the tent. It was really outside and move it. Down below at the base of those.
even chasing a white rabbit is better than nothing at all.
Is ever going to believe. Then I saw a fourth one, and it actually was there, kind of hovering, and it started to land with the other ones. I was totally amazed. I started to feel very strange, like very weak all of a sudden. I'm not sure what happened then. All I know is I woke up outside the tent on the ground. I looked down there, and there was nothing anywhere. I never sleep.
The cowboy is shooting with the left hand. Passes the gun, like so, and shoots that way. This is the move that is much more fancier and nice. Cut the gun, and shoot.
And there were these powdery ashes scattered around. I'm not one of those people that goes looking around, but I'm convinced that this was something from another world.
The water is diverted and then used to generate electrical power. Since the beginning of the 20th century, Niagara has powered the industrial heartland of Canada. It's not the falls itself that generates the power. Further east, the cliffs are more than twice as high. That's why engineers chose this spot to build a man-made wonder of the world.
Grid masterpiece. Indian merchants had brought more than trade goods as they traveled east. Their religious ideas had become a powerful influence at Angkor, thousands of miles away.
In stock, into the turbine, drives the shaft, spins the magnets, electricity.
For Angkor Wat was more than a temple. It was also a celebration of its creator. Suryavarman was the king, but he also...
Too small. Who needs rabbits?
Wild West Arts Club. And there's a Single Action Shooting Society. And also the World.
A legend describes how one such encounter was believed to take place. Every night, the king was obliged to attend the most sacred inner room of the royal chapel. Here he would be visited by a heavenly spirit in human form, who would dance for him, and then seduce him. Was certainly...
The post-war boom fueled Ontario's hunger for more and more power.
And when he died, he went to live and commune with the gods. And this was his resting place. This is where he moved on to a whole new dimension of life, living in perpetuity in heaven.
Not only was Angkor Wat a representation of heaven on earth, it was a celebration of the status of Surya Varman and described the divine future that awaited him as an immortal god.
Okay, good job, Bill.
Thank you.
I'd like to move on to the next scene, please.
I'm just a little bit concerned that we have a dinosaur and a...
But how had this remarkable religious system started? Where had the concept of the God-King originated?
The mightiest power generating station the world had ever seen. There are countless stories in this land. Some have been forgotten. Others live on in legend. At their heart, they are the stories of Canadians. Their hopes, their history, and their faith in the future of this great country. And there are many more to come as the magnificent journey continues.
Gifting to the temple. So the person who controlled the temple, the priest or the priest king, became a very vital component in early Angkorian civilization.
Popular temples commanded considerable wealth and power.
Federation. The Galactic Federation is a group right now of over, or just about 200,000 star systems and star leagues whose sole process and purpose is to bring light into this galaxy.
The Galactic Federation acts as the United Nations for the planets in the Sirius Galaxy.
System. It's approximately from us. A light year is approximately 5.9 trillion miles.
Sheldon says that in order...
Well, I'll eat it. If I get larger, I can reach the key. And if I get smaller, I can crawl under the door.
Somebody was listening.
Yeah, but it's just easier when we can see it.
That's true. Those largest natural gas fields...
Any moment I'll hit the... Aha! Now I can reach the key. Now I surely can't get into the garden.
And we might never have come to know about Khmer life.
Before any drilling occurs, scientists must first is done to help determine underground rock structures and formations. Several small explosive charges are set off in shallow holes. Energy waves from these explosions vibrate down through hundreds of meters of rock and bounce back to the surface. That's where instruments called geophones record the vibrations, and using this information, scientists try to determine what kind of rock...
But at least one kind of immortality, although perhaps not the one they intended. Their creation, emerging from the forest nearly 1,000 years later,
Good day, Mr. Mouse.
Good day. I've never had a worse one. Walking about, minding my own business when, splash, in I went.
You don't, perchance, know where the shore is, I suppose?
No, I do not. That way, I hope.
Excuse me, Mr. Mouse. That is a most
All right. That concludes our session for today. I want to thank everybody for watching. It was a fun one. I had fun. I hope you guys had fun. Yeah, there you get a little mix of the two there. Yeah, look at that. Angle from over top. Angle from the side. What do you want, a close-up? I can give you a close-up. And we got that back camera on the feedback loop, so that's what's going on there. Anyways, I'm going to stop yapping. Don't worry. Oh, we got some pyramids here. Anyways, yeah, I don't really have much else to tell you.
Is this the deceased on there?
Other than, yeah, I'll be posting some clips. And well, until next time, I guess we will, well, you know how we do. We end on purple. We always end on purple. So why don't we do that now? We'll just, yeah, we'll get a little feedback loop there, and we'll just, yeah, we'll end on purple. There it is, ending on purple. All right. Thanks again, everybody, for watching. We are having the time of our lives here, doing the video jam. All right, we want to end on this frame right here. Nope, wrong one. This one right here. All right, thanks again for watching. Have a good night.